Okay, how's everybody? This is DraftKings picks for UFC 207 as well as betting lines for UFC 207. So let's get right into it. Because of the Verdum Kane dropout, we have a little bit of shuffle around, and our first fight, at least according to the DraftKings schedule, is now Alex Oliveira versus Tim Means. Tim Means is a minus 115, while Alex Oliveira is minus 105 on the money line. And Oliveira on DraftKings will run you 7,800, while Means can be had for 8,400. I feel like Means is sort of the public darling here, at least from what I've been seeing from other bettors and things. But I think underestimating Oliveira again would be a mistake. Obviously, he had a significant advantage in that Will Brooks fight. He was 5 pounds over and still took the fight. But I do like him here to sort of work that same strategy against Means. Get the clinch, bully around, get takedowns when necessary, control on the ground. Tim Means, in his last two fights, where he had a lot of success, he had a significant reach advantage on both of those opponents. He's not going to have that against Oliveira. Oliveira actually has the 1 inch reach advantage on him. And I also think that Oliveira is going to be one of the stronger guys that Means has fought. I found it interesting, too. I was on Twitter, and guys were talking about this, and Means actually chimed in. And he said, well, if Oliveira takes me down, do you think he's going to be able to keep me there? Which was interesting to me because number one, that's pretty much what you get from Tim Means, where you can take him down, not readily so much, but he can be taken down, but he doesn't really get kept there. But I found it interesting that he was sort of conceding that yeah, he might get me down, um, but he just won't be able to keep me there. But Oliveira's a strong dude, so again, I think he may be able to keep him there if he gets it there, and I think he may be able to just have his way in this fight and get sort of a gritty, uh, dirty decision, or maybe get him down and pound him out like he did with Brooks. Obviously, there's another X factor there. Brooks hurt his rib in the fight, but I mean he hurt his rib in the fight based on what Oliveira did to him. So it's not like that was totally like a fluky thing. Oliveira he executed some beautiful knees in the clinch there to pop that rib. So that's something to be considered. But I definitely think that Oliveira is being undervalued here again, and particularly on DraftKings, where he can be had for under 8,000, which I think is a steal. And for someone who's not going to get a lot of credit, if you're going to get him for scarcity on DK, I think that's a definite pick to be made. That is. So yeah, that's going to be my pick there. Next fight, we're going to have Brandon Thatch versus Nico Price. I'll give you the DraftKings prices first since I'm looking at them. Thatch can be had for 9,000, while Nico Price, making his UFC debut, can be had for 7,200. As far as the betting line goes, Price can be had for plus 150, while Thatch is a minus 175 favorite. This is sort of a tough fight to call because there's not a lot of tape on Nico Price, and what you can find is pretty old. But what I like is that I know that he is an active jiu-jitsu player. He's joined competitions. I believe he's a purple belt, and he's a willing takedown wrestler, which means I mean it's not just going to be opportunistic where he might catch a kick or something. He's actually going to look to get to the ground, which is going to be good, I think, against a guy like Thatch who has shown really no ability to um, either stuff a takedown or get back up once he gets put on his back. So all that in mind, I think Nico Price is a good dog play here. Even on the betting line as well for plus 150 could be pretty good. I just feel like I don't know Thatch. He's coming in here having lost three in a row, so you would say, okay, maybe he wants to make a statement, but is he capable of making that statement? I don't know. Price does tend to wing wild shots, as does Thatch. So we could get a stoppage here either way. Vegas seems to think so, as the line is set 1.5. So they see a short fight. I sort of see a short fight as well. I think you're gonna want to have both of these guys if you play DraftKings, but 9,000 is just so much for Thatch, and I get why, sort of, I guess, but I just feel like the fact that we don't know a lot about Nico Price and the fact that Thatch is a veteran is really factoring into that. But I mean, Thatch again has just been so ineffective off his back. If the fight goes there, I don't really see him getting back to his feet or pulling. I mean, he does sort of have an active guard. He sort of tries to pull submissions, but he hasn't been very effective at that of late. So look, Thatch can run it in and run his hand into Price's face. I'm sure of that, but um, I'm gonna have a lot more Price on DraftKings just because of the price difference. And as far as the betting line, I I think if you want to take the 150, that's okay. I mean, I'd like a little bit more, maybe like 175. That's okay, but I really think the um, under 1.5 for minus 141 is a nice play here. Don't really see this one lasting very long. I'd be pretty surprised, quite frankly. So there's the analysis there. Price is the lean and the under for the rounds. All right, next fight coming up is Mike Pyle versus Alex Garcia, and on DraftKings, Garcia will run you 8,600, while Pyle is 1,000 less at 76, and the betting lines are Mike Pyle is a plus 140, while Alex Garcia can be had for minus 165. This is sort of a tough fight to call as well. I'm not in love with either of these guys. I think that Garcia plays better on DraftKings because he is sort of a very willing takedown artist and wrestler. The problem is that he doesn't appear to be able to do much, at least his last few fights, when he's on top. Sean Strickland pretty much stifled the offense. He just sort of allows his opponent to get wrist control and then either get stood up or, I mean, he can burn out a round on top, having not done that much, but uh, I don't know. There could be a stand up too. As I said, he just doesn't do enough for me. It's just not active enough. And the other thing to consider is uh, Garcia had a really tough time with Sean Strickland reach advantage. Now the reach advantage isn't going to be uh, as pronounced here with Pyle, but it's still going to exist. Pyle's still going to be the longer fighter, and I do think Strickland is better with like his fakes and feints, throwing punches and keeping long than Pyle is. I think Pyle is way more hittable. Um, Especially susceptible to those overhands, which Garcia likes to throw. But Garcia is very sloppy. Like he'll load up on punches and fall down and things. And I just expect Pyle to be a lot more technical than he is. I don't know if that's going to be enough to get it done. If I had to make a pick here, I'll go Garcia for the safety because I think that he can do more with the takedowns and sort of curry favor with the judges, score points on DraftKings, of course. I'm not super confident in that pick because I don't think Garcia. I mean, he just had so much trouble with the reach of Strickland that, I mean, it could be the same thing again where Pyle could just pick him off from the outside. But it's not like he wasn't landing in that fight, and he hits hard, so he could knock out Mike Pyle. That's it's not like out of the realm possibility, but as far as the pick, slight lean on Garcia. Wouldn't take him at 165 here. Uh, wouldn't take. You know what? That over looks pretty good. Over 1.5 or minus 145. That looks pretty good. And on DraftKings, Garcia just for the takedown potential and piling up the points. Even if his top control, or I should say his ground and pound hasn't been the best, I still think should be enough to get it done. But if Pyle ends up uh, either outpointing him, staying in distance, or getting a knockout, as Sean Strickland did, it wouldn't surprise me. So sort of tread lightly on that one, I guess, is my main point. But if you're making a pick, uh, Garcia or not Garcia on DraftKings and the over. So there you go on that one. Next fight. Aha. Antonio Carlos Jr. versus Marvin Vettori. They are both the same price on DraftKings at 8,100. And our betting lines are plus 125 for Vettori, while Antonio Carlos Jr. is at, I should say, minus 145. This is I really like what I see from Marvin Vettori. I think he's a big dude for this division, and that plays, and he likes to throw his hands, and that also plays. He's good on the ground. Uh, we saw him catch a sub in his UFC debut against Uda. And he has subs on the regional scene as well. I just like his aggressiveness. He gets in there, he mixes it up. Carlos Jr., another willing takedown artist, which we love for DraftKings. Um, Guy who's gonna look for subs as well. So this is an interesting fight. My opinion is that Vettori, with his pressure and his power, although Antonio Carlos Jr., he showed a lot of power on the Ultimate Fighter as well. I don't think we've seen a knockout from him in the UFC. No, we haven't. We haven't seen a knockout from him in the UFC yet, but he does have power as well. So this could be another one that ends quick. Another one where you want some exposure to both on DraftKings. I'm gonna lean more towards Vettori here, even though it's sort of risky because a lot of his fights don't get out of the first round, which is sort of concerning to a relative newcomer. But hey, he did it. He did it in his first UFC fight. So maybe he's just gonna take it by storm. Who knows? But I do think that this is a fight. I mean, I've never seen him on his back, and Antonio Carlos Jr. is going to actively try to put him there. So we'll see how that goes. But I do think that Vettori, especially on DraftKings, because of the low ownership, is probable. Antonio Carlos Jr. is a name in the sport, coming off a win. Uh, Vettori's coming off an impressive win, but I don't expect most casual DraftKings players to really zero in on him and have him. So I'm gonna take the shot on Vettori. Um, Probably not on the betting line. Plus 125 is a little too close for me. Um, you see a little bit of negative effect of that good UFC debut maybe. So plus 125 is a little too close for me, but as I said on DraftKings, that's a decent kind of play for a guy who's going to look to pressure and look to take his guy out. All right, so the next fight is, oh boy, Johny Hendricks versus Neil Magny. DraftKings, you have Magny at 8,200 and Hendricks at 8,000. And for the betting line, which I seem to be having trouble finding, you have minus 125 for Magny and plus 105 for Hendricks. I was all ready to lay out why this is another public darling in Magny, that I really feel strongly that Hendricks had a good shot. Was all ready to make my case, and I'll still make it, but it has to be said. If you guys didn't see that him at the scrum yesterday, I mean, I've never seen anything like that. He was babbling incoherently. It looked like he was having trouble standing. I mean, that weight cut is just killing him. I a lot of times you say, oh, well, a lot of guys have rough cuts, and it doesn't necessarily hurt them, or like it's inconclusive that that's what hurt them. But here, I mean, Hendricks just can't do it. He had trouble uh, making weight for the Gastelum fight too. He looked terrible, and this is just, I don't know. I've never seen anything like this. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It was from MMAfighting.com, and I don't know. It almost looked like he was drunk. That's how much. That's how I guess the cut's really killing him. They asked him how close he was. He wouldn't say. He just said he was so close you couldn't believe it. Um, I do think he'll make the weight, but at this point, I would feel better if he just said screw it and came in like 3 pounds over or something, because he just looks terrible. The reason why I was gonna pick Hendricks here, and why I feel like Neil Magny would be under normal circumstances a trap, is because Neil Magny gets hurt in every fight. I mean, his last 3 fights, he had, well, first of all, he gets destroyed by Lorenz Larkin, right? So that happened, and you could say fine, one fight that happened. His victory against Hector Lombard. Hector Lombard stormed him in the first, almost put him out. I don't know how he didn't, quite frankly. Good on Magny, I guess, for being tough. But then Lombard basically dies in the ring. He's gassed beyond belief. Still puts him down with I believe a right hand, while he was almost too tired to stand, because Magny just, I don't know, Magny's the kind of guy, if you advance on him, he just freezes. He doesn't throw, he doesn't try to circle out. He just sort of backs up, and then you can have your way. In the Gastelum fight, he was winning that Gastelum fight with his wrestling, basically. And Gastelum, all of a sudden, it was either the fourth round or the fifth round, Gastelum just drops him twice. Once backing up, freezing him, like I said, and once actually while he was coming in. Um, the guy just gets hurt so much, and he's a good wrestler, but is he gonna out wrestle Johny Hendricks? If Johny Hendricks is prime, I sort of doubt it. So at the time of this recording, uh, I haven't seen the weigh-ins yet, but it would be a good thing to see how Johny Hendricks looks on the scale before you make that final pick. If he looks okay, and if he was just loopy yesterday for whatever reason, I'm gonna go Hendricks all day here, and I think this is another public darling waiting to fall here. I don't understand. I think a lot of the hype for Magny is just based on how bad Hendricks has looked lately, but Magny hasn't doesn't even look good when he wins. So I don't know. I think people may be falling in love with that big reach advantage for Magny, but Magny has a big reach advantage no matter who he fights. I believe he's got the 80-inch reach, which is basically going to be. I mean, it's going to be more stark sometimes than others, but he's going to have a reach advantage no matter who he fights. So I wouldn't fall too much in love with that. But I don't know, man. This is another one that makes it hard to call. I mean, it's reminiscent of um, the Cole Miller thing, where it's like, okay, well, we can analyze the fight, but then we have this outside thing going on that we have to pay attention to. And Cole Miller ended up looking terrible in that fight. Now, obviously, this isn't functionally the same thing. They're not. One thing isn't a physical thing that can affect you like it is with Hendricks, but it's another one of those things where you might have to look at something other than, styles make fights, or how has he been doing, or what are his tendencies. So I mean, that alone makes this a pretty hard fight to call. I think at the end of the day, I'm still gonna go Hendricks unless he looks really bad, and then I won't be able to do it. But I just think that Hendricks is somebody who's really being overlooked on DraftKings. I wouldn't take the line, which by the way, let me give to you. Hendricks is plus 105, Magny minus 125. Wouldn't take that line. Um, just couldn't trust Hendricks at that price if I'm betting it. But for DraftKings, if you're making multiples, I wouldn't be afraid to have multiple lineups with Hendricks in it, just because I feel like he's going to be very low owned, and unless he looks god awful on the scale, I do still feel semi confident in the pick. But if he's really just a mess and he gets in the ring and looks like a mess, he can make that look really, really bad. But it's on video, so you all can tell me how stupid it was if it does happen, and I'll be waiting for it. All comments are good comments, you know. So, all right, next fight: Louis Smolka versus Ray Borg. Smolka can be had for 8,300 on DraftKings, while Borg can be had for 7,900. And as far as our betting lines, Ray Borg is minus 131, while the comeback on Louis Smolka is plus 111. I'm kind of shocked that Smolka is the dog here. I think that's incredible dog money. I understand that we're all low on Smolka right now because he gets caught by Brandon Moreno. And it was funny. I saw a headline somewhere that said Smolka didn't know who Brandon Moreno was and thought he was a boxer. I don't know if he was covering for a bad loss, a guy he shouldn't lose to, or if that's just the stupidest thing a fighter has ever said. I mean, how could you not research your opponent to the point where you don't even know what his style is? But either way, man, I don't love Ray Borg. I mean, he's an active wrestler, but I mean that's really about it. Smolka, I think, has better ground and pound. Is more diverse in his sub game. More diverse striking on the feet. I just feel like if Smolka comes in and he's on track and he's determined, if he knows who Ray Borg is, which he should, I think he gets this done, and I'm pretty shocked that he's getting dog money here. Um, this could be a trap, or it just could be low confidence in Smolka by the public, because of Moreno. But I mean, he beat Ben Wynn, and he looked great in that fight. He was active. He was looking for subs left and right. Uh, ended up finishing that fight. I just can't. I just feel like Smolka's more diverse, and I can't pick against him here, and I wouldn't want to pick against him here for dog money. Um, that's a weird line to me, and I feel like there's some potential to be had there. Um, Again, Ray Borg probably not the worst, not the worst DraftKings pick, certainly, because he's gonna look for the takedowns. He's gonna look for uh, wrestling, and he's gonna look for subs as well. But I just feel like Smoke is better in every area, quite frankly. Um, Ray Borg got out wrestled by Justin Scoggins in his last fight, and he also was having trouble striking uh, with Scoggins. Scoggins basically threw him off, throwing kicks and sort of disorienting him with his fight stance, and Smolka has a little bit of that too. He bounces around a little bit, so I don't know. Unless I'm really walking into a trap here, I feel like Smolka's an easy play. Easy play. All right, so next next fight is Dong Young Kim, the real one, versus Tariq Saffiedine. Dong Young Kim can be had for 8,500 on DraftKings, while Saffiedine is at 7,700. The lines are as follows: comeback for Tariq Saffiedine plus 123. Dong Young Kim is minus 143 favorite. Um, I don't like Terry Saffiedine. I think he's very one and done on his striking. He likes to throw one kick at a time, one kick at a time, one kick at a time. And Dong Hyun Kim, I don't really trust. I feel like he tries to open him and gets wild with striking, and it doesn't really ever pay off for him. He was getting outstruck by Berkman before he ended up winning that fight, and he got hurt in that fight too. But what I like about Kim here, and what I think is advantageous for him, is Saffiedine is very accepting of the clinch, um, and that's where Kim does his best work with all the judo crap and the wrestling, which I normally don't love judo, but he's been pretty strong at it, and if Saffiedine wants to get in the clinch there, then I think Kim is just gonna run him over. Um, if he tries to stand a distance and strike with him, Kim might have a problem, although he could still land uh, a haymaker or so. But I feel like if Kim is able to get the clinch game going, it doesn't look like Saffiedine will actively be trying to stop that. Then I think Kim could really have kind of an easy time. Um, so Kim is the pick there, uh, possibly by stoppage. I mean, I think this fight either goes. I think Saffiedine either picks him apart or Kim has his way uh, in the clinch and on the ground, and I feel like the latter is much more likely. So yeah, there we go. Pretty confident in that one, although not confident in Kim in general, but pretty confident in that pick against that opponent. All right, so our next fight is the fun begins. John Lineker versus TJ Dillashaw. Lineker can be had for 7,400 on DraftKings, while Dillashaw will run you 8,800. And our lines are a plus 195 comeback on John Lineker and Dillashaw being a minus 235 favorite. God, it's so tempting to just. Lineker has so much power, and it's so hard to knock him out. I mean, we saw him take all those head kicks from John Dotson in the last fight, and he just doesn't go down. And if you're gonna give a guy like that 3 rounds to land one punch, I, you can't hate that for plus 195. But overall, I think this is Dillashaw's fight. If you watch that Dotson fight again, I initially thought Lineker won, but upon further review, like you can watch the Luke Thomas show where he slows it down and kind of goes frame by frame, which is useful for analyzing fights too. Uh, Dotson wasn't getting hit that much. Lineker was just throwing and missing, and even when he was connecting, didn't really connect all that solidly a lot of the times. And this could be a very similar thing where Dillashaw just uses his footwork and goes in and out and picks him apart. Don't see him knocking out John Lineker, but he can also use his wrestling game if he feels like he needs to. I just feel like he's way more diverse striker. Lineker likes to wing bombs, and he's sort of diverse in the way he wings bombs. Like he won't just throw one. Like he'll throw you 3 right hooks in a row and stuff like that, and he'll change it up. So he's kind of interesting. He's kind of interesting in that way. Like he's not like just your typical like brawler. Like he seems to know what his skill set is, and he offers diversity within that skill set, which is interesting. But I just think Dillashaw is going to have too many tools here. Ultimately, wouldn't take minus 235 because I feel like if he lands a bomb, he's just going to put Dillashaw out, and that's too much risk involved for a minus 235 line. And the under over, I don't like either. Uh, plus 175 for under 2.5. If you think Lineker can land that bomb, um, that might be your best bet. Although you could just take Lineker at plus 195. But as far as DraftKings goes, it's hard to like. I'm gonna have Lineker in one or two just because you can't. If that does happen, first of all, nobody's gonna be on Lineker probably, and it's gonna be advantageous for you. And if he does land that bomb, he's going to get the finish. And, that's what we want, obviously. So, but as far as who's going to win the fight, I can't reasonably think that John Lineker is going to out fight TJ Dillashaw. Dillashaw's just probably going to outwork him. I mean, that's the short way of saying it. But and our next fight is kind of similar, actually. Um, Dominic Cruz versus Cody Garbrandt. Cruz is an $8,700 item on DraftKings. Garbrandt can be had for $7,700, and the odds are minus 210 for Cruz, plus 180 for Cody Garbrandt. This, again, as I said, kind of similar. I wouldn't be paying minus 210 for Dominic Cruz in this spot. I actually thought he lost that Dillashaw fight. I don't know if I'm alone in that or if people agree, but um, Dillashaw was very effective with leg kicks. Uh, Cruz was hobbling around at the end of that fight. I felt like Dillashaw landed the cleaner shots. And I don't know. I mean, I think Garbrandt is people are saying that Garbrandt's going to come in too emotional and he's going to wing, and Cruz is going to just pick him apart or maybe even catch him. Maybe, but I just I don't know. It's another one of those things where you're going to give Cody Garbrandt more than likely. You're going to give him 5 rounds to put Cruz in trouble with one shot. Now I know it's Dominic Cruz and he doesn't get hit and all that, but again, I felt like Dillashaw got the better of him in that fight, and Cody Garbrandt certainly no T.J. Dillashaw with his footwork, but I can't. I don't see Cruz winning as such a sure thing as other people might. I saw I was watching other bettors on Twitter, and some guy was like giddy that he was able to get Cruz at minus 200, and I just wouldn't be comfortable with anybody at that price against a knockout artist like Garbrandt. I mean, it goes without saying that this is his toughest test. And if you're gonna ask me gun to my head, I would say that Cruz just sort of outworks him and does does the Floyd Mayweather thing. But um, it's a tough fight. It's you're gonna want some Garbrandt exposure too on DraftKings for the knockout potential and just what can be done in a 5 round fight. Cruz, he's got a nice slick, flowy like takedown game that just flows from his awkward style, footwork. I like the way he fights, and I do ultimately think Cruz takes it, but you know Garbrandt is you can't really sleep on that kind of power. So um, I think the over 2.5 too, minus 215. Wow. Um, unless you see Garbrandt knocking him out, I don't see what else you bet really, because I don't think Garbrandt's winning by decision, and I don't. As much as Dominic Cruz has tried to say your chin is weak, your chin is weak. I mean, he's not Takaya Mitsugaki. He's not just gonna fall over when he gets hit. So I don't know. I think Cruz for the win, but again, Garbrandt as a sneak play with the power, certainly not the worst strategy in the world. And now our main event, Amanda Nunes versus Ronda Rousey. Plus 118 for Nunes, minus 138 for Ronda Rousey, and DraftKings will run you 8,000 for Nunes and 8,400 for Ronda Rousey. Um, if you've been following that line since it opened, I believe Amanda Nunes opened at plus 220. So the bettors have been hammering that down, and there's a reason. I I just don't see how you could bet Rousey here with any confidence. I mean, forget about all the head case things with the I'm not doing any media and I'm just gonna storm off and not talk to anybody and blah blah blah. And everybody on social media and media are just bad people and whatever. I I just don't think people are characterizing this fight correctly. People are trying to say, okay, well, Amanda Nunes is a good style matchup for Ronda Rousey because Amanda Nunes is going to come at you and stand in front of you. But I don't think that's true. If you watch that Misha Tate fight, the whole thing was distance striking from Amanda Nunes. She gets in and out really well. And if you watch a lot of Rousey fights, a lot of it is predicated on bull. I mean, she has a couple of TKOs there, but a lot of it is predicated on throwing yourself into the clinch and getting that takedown and getting that armbar. Obviously, that's what she does, right? But I'm not saying that Amanda Nunes is Holly Holm with her distance management and her stick and move, but she makes up for that in power. So if Ronda Rousey's waiting forward, trying to throw herself into the clinch, and she gets hit with a shot, she can get rocked pretty easily here, I think. And when she does, she's gonna get flustered again because it's just she doesn't. Watching that home fight, she just the minute she got in trouble, she just got worried, and she was flailing around and didn't look like she knew how to handle getting hurt. Um, so if Rousey if Nunes puts her in trouble again, I just think that's gonna be all she wrote. And Amanda Nunes is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. She does train. I think there were stories that she's a judo brown belt. I think she said that's not true, but she does train judo. I know that doesn't mean she's Olympic caliber at it, of course, but again, it's for me, it's still that one weapon versus the diversity of Amanda Nunes. So has Rousey significantly improved her striking to the point where if it stays on the feet, she can hang? I don't see how we can make that decision. As far as I know, the great Edmond Taverdian is still her striking coach, which is hilarious. So I just don't see. I just don't see. I'm not saying Rousey can't win. She obviously can. She can obviously take Amanda down, do the armbar thing, and I just don't see Amanda Nunes getting herself in that position. You got to remember, Holly Holm stuffed all of her takedowns, basically all of Rousey's takedowns. She had her in the clinch a couple times, couldn't get her down. Misha Tate and Valentina Shevchenko both took Holly Holm down. So what does that say about Ronda Rousey's takedowns against experienced fighters? You know, like really top level fighters. I don't know, and maybe you could argue that you don't think Amanda Nunes is there yet, although I do. But I might look like a fool for this one too if Rousey gets like one of her patented 40-second armbar wins. But I just think that Nunes is too complete a fighter to lose this fight on most of the time. I would say in my very non-scientific out of 10, I would say like 8, 7 out of 10 times Amanda Nunes wins this fight. I just do. I just think that Rousey is not on the level, and everybody's making such a big deal about she came in with muscle, but I don't really see what that has to do with anything. If anything, she's going to be fighting in the octagon with more muscle than she ever has, and could potentially gas out. And everybody's worried about Nunes gassing out. I feel like that's not really something that we need to worry about here. Because I just don't think uh, Rousey's going to push a pace on her. I think Nunes is going to be the one dictating the action, and Rousey's going to be throwing herself into the clinch. Like I said, unless she's shown us a new wrinkle, unless she's really improved with striking, um, then it could be totally different. But otherwise, I'm going to go with Nunes here in sort of a route. So it's another one where if it's wrong, you could tell me how bad the prediction was. But with that, that will be the end of another video and 2 events in a row. So how about that? We're getting consistency. Um, Let me know what you think in the comments below. I will have timestamps because I'm sure this has ran pretty long by now. I will have timestamps for all the individual fights so you can just pick around. And let me know what you think if you like the content. And good luck with all your bets and DraftKings plays. Later.